Did I set out to reform the church's music, or was I just following God? Huh? Yeah. And the answer would be I was just following God. I didn't care about the church. I thought the church is already saved. What do I care what they think of me or if they ever hear any of my songs? This music is for non-believers, you know. So I was on Capitol Records and opening up for Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, The Byrds, Buffalo Springfield, just a whole bunch of bands. The Who. The band went on tour with The Who, and Pete Townsend. I had written this thing called The Epic, which is a rock opera, and Pete Townsend stood backstage and watched it, and after the tour was over said he was going to write a rock opera too, and so he wrote Tommy, and his was kind of spiritual too. I think that people, other artists were affected by what we were doing in the band, because they saw that there was really no limit about what you could talk about. It wasn't just about girls or surfboards, you know, and the people was a very strange band. We were probably what Daniel Amos is today. We're a very experimental art band who is writing about things that nobody'd written about before. And I think a lot of artists were inspired because of that, you know. We before Buffalo Springfield ever got formed, we hung out with them in Sausalito and rehearsed with them, and I just think a lot of bands ended up liking us because we loved them, and because our music really wasn't trapped in any traditional way to the pop world. I think it was just a joyous thing for our fans and for other bands. Janis Joplin used to sit behind the curtain and watch us when we opened for her. She didn't usually do that for other bands, you know. That was kind of a compliment. I mean, what do I think about bands who share their message metaphorically in a way that's not very obvious? Should they be more specific? I don't know. Art is art. You can do what you want to. It's just you shouldn't be surprised if nobody ever becomes a Christian listening to your albums if there's not very much specific content in it. But I think it's fine to be a Christian and to do art and not to sing about Jesus if that's what God is allowing you to do. I think we're supposed to be obeying Jesus. I don't think we tell God what our art is going to be. I think we should be asking God, what does He want to do with our lives? And I don't think we set aside something, go, God, I'll follow you forever, but not in my music. I'm going to do it my way. I think we should just let God inform the whole aspect of our life. And if you end up writing artistic songs that don't mention Christ, and if that's what God's inspired you to do, that's probably going to help people through the power of the Holy Spirit. I'm not saying that everything has to be propaganda. I don't think art should be propaganda ever. I try to even write the most direct messages that I'm trying to give in an artful way, so that it has expression and has some power of poetry, because I don't believe in propaganda. Propaganda is when you don't trust the Holy Spirit and you think you have to tell everybody and you harangue and you bash them. I don't think that I think that denies the power of Christ. Yeah, I grew up in the church and I didn't really understand it until I was 5. I used to listen to sermons and try to figure it out. And I was a very thoughtful kid and confused by all the inconsistencies in the sermons, because we were told in church that it's wrong to dance and it's wrong to smoke and it's wrong to drink, but then in the Bible it says Jesus changed water into wine, and it says David danced before the Lord, and there was no cigarettes in the Bible, so that didn't bother me. But I just didn't get it. And then an evangelist came to town, and I went to the Civic Auditorium with a lot of people. It was a big meeting. And after the sermon, he said, if someone would like to receive Christ, come down. And I asked my father, can I go down? And he said, no, you're too young. And nobody went forward. And the evangelist said, I think there's at least one person who wants to become a Christian. And I told my dad, that's me. And my dad said, okay, go. So I went down the front, became a Christian, and that was it. I started witnessing to my friends at school, and started talking to winos on the street. You know, they'd be sitting there doing nothing. I thought, how old were you? I was 5, 1952. So I just loved preaching the gospel and evangelizing. And I wanted to be a missionary, but that didn't work out.